So I'll fill you in on what went down there on the 22nd of July. So it was my day off, and I had planned on going for a hike up to Fitzwilliam Basin. And it had been hot for about a week and a half. Heat waves started there, and there was a few fires that sprung up down the parkway and one up by my hot springs up in the mountains. But nothing too serious, it seemed. It was just some spot fires going on. It was pretty warm, but basically almost like snowed the week before that. So the heat wave wasn't on for very long. But yeah, so I decided, just with the fires around, I decided not to go into the backcountry that weekend, thankfully. Because, yeah, it would have been a bad situation having to not being at home and being able to grab my stuff. So, yeah, I was just chilling out and went to go grab some groceries for dinner and saw my friend Alicia. We were chatting, and as I was talking to her, this wind picked up and the weather kind of changed and some rain started, but the winds were like really heavy coming from the south. And so I'm like, well, I better go get some dinner. Went over to the grocery store and went inside, had dinner, and came out after my dinner. And I noticed the sky was really, really dark with smoke, and there was some ash coming down. And I kept thinking, that's not from, the fire up at my hot springs. It's something a lot closer. And everyone was kind of looking to the north, and then I heard someone, like, people were coming out on the street and, wondering what the hell was going on. And then the smoke got really, really thick. I mean, the sky was black. So Alicia came out and she's like, I'm going to get gas. And I'm like, oh crap, I was almost on empty. Which, rule number one, if you live in a wildfire region in the summertime, always have at least 3/4 a tank of gas. My big mistake, I was literally on empty. So I'm like, oh shit. So I went to go get gas, and the lineup was already all the way down Connaught. All the gas stations were just lined up. And I waited and waited, but then I started kind of panicking, thinking, well, I need to grab my stuff. I need to grab my cat. And we got to get ready to get the hell out of here. This is not looking good. And just that happened. We had an evacuation notice, came up alert on the phone. And so I decided to wait, opt out for gas at the moment, and went home instead. Grabbed my backpack, all my camping stuff, 20 liters of water in a jug I got in the back here of the truck. Cleared all the stuff out the back of my truck, because I got a bit of a camper, a DIY camper in the back of Snow White here, with a bed and a shelf and stuff. So I got that kind of ready. And all I grabbed was, pretty much just all my hiking stuff, my backpack and all that, camping stuff. I had a couple of boxes of old photos that were kind of conveniently already out, so I just grabbed those and grabbed my cat in the cage and got in the truck. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll just get in the lineup out of town. And just, of course, as that happened, then the evacuation notice came up that we all had to leave. And basically, at first, it said the fire was going to hit town in about 5 hours. So, I mean, it was pretty wild. And we're talking middle of the summer. So in Jasper, permanent residents, you're looking at about 5,500 people. And in the summertime, with all the work, like the students working and all the extra staff we bring on, you're looking at about 10,000 plus another, almost 15,000 tourists, plus all the campers at all the campgrounds. We were about 25,000 people had to evacuate, and the only exit, because there was a fire started at the waste transfer station on the east end, north end of town. And that's where we all thought the fire was coming from. But actually, the fires on the parkway down by the campground between basically the Edith Cavell Road here, 93A, and the campgrounds was basically ground zero where all those fires merged and grew. And that's where the big fire was coming from with those winds. And we didn't quite realize that. So it took 5 hours to evacuate just to get out of town. And here I am sitting on empty. It's about 9:30 at night. It took me 2 hours to go half a block to the gas station as I'm watching the needle drop and people running with jerry cans by the gas station. And I'm thinking, man, I hope they don't run out of fuel or I'm going to have to ditch the truck. And Alicia, she had plans to go up to Grand Prairie through BC there. Stay with her parents. All our where I work, our company owns a ranch resort outside of between Valemount and McBride in BC. So my chef called me and said that we're all gonna meet there. So I said, okay, well, I'll go there, I guess, first, and we'll figure out what I'm gonna do after that. We'd had no idea, if it was going to reach town or not. Like, it was a lot of uncertainty. So 5.5 hours sitting in town, not knowing how close the fire was, and the ash was just raining down. It was hot as hell. My poor old cat, she was panting. And it was, it was pretty traumatic, actually, like not knowing what the hell was going on. If if I was going to look in the rearview mirror and see flames shooting down, and we only had the one exit to get out, evacuating 25,000 people in one direction into BC on the highway 16 west. So it was quite a stressful few hours waiting in that lineup to get out, not knowing. After the fires in Hawaii and seeing people who had to jump in the ocean, and the Fort Mac fires too back a few years ago, people literally, the flames chasing them as they were trying to get out. So with that on my mind, and the amazing thing is that people were texting me, old friends from Banff and everywhere, just offering a place to stay if I needed it. And I had a wonderful friend of mine, a family friend, who offered for me to stay with her in Kamloops, and she had a trailer in her driveway there with air conditioning and everything. So I thought, well, I'll go and stay at the ranch there with all the staff, and we'll figure out what's going on. And then if that's the case, then I'd continue on and take her up on her offer and go to Kamloops. So I got outside of Mount Robson at about 2:30 in the morning, and just pulled over and slept in the back with the cat. It was her first little camping trip at 18 years old, poor thing. So next morning got up and went to the ranch there, and that actually turned out to be a pretty damn good day, considering there was nothing else we could do but sit and wait, right? So we all just, it was a hot day, so we pulled the trucks down by the river and the Fraser River. It was a really nice property, and we just parked under the nice shaded trees, and we ended up having quite a party, to be honest. Drank a lot of beer, and wondering if our homes were gonna burn down or not. But the next day I didn't really want to stay there, so I decided to keep going. And there was a lot of fires in that area too, so I drove down to Kamloops the next day, and we were evacuated almost exactly a month, and I stayed in Kamloops the whole time. And I'd like to thank Linda and Walt for their generosity and kindness, and it was a really good visit as well, staying with them. Kitty had a nice safe place to stay in the trailer with air conditioning, being as old as she was. So I'm sure it was quite traumatic for her as well. And yeah, we just waited it out, and it was a lot of things to do. We got a bit of money from the Alberta government, and my insurance, of course, covering, because the loss of wages and everything else. So got that all straightened out, and waited it out, and the evacuation order was lifted on the 23rd of August, and I went back, I think, the day after that. And of course, we lost 1/3 the west end of town, and all the critical infrastructure was saved thanks to our awesome firefighters, the wildfire fighters, and the volunteer fire departments, the structural fires. We lost a lot, though. Apartment buildings, hotels, a lot of homes, a lot of people displaced. About 2,000 residents still, almost, are displaced from town 6 months later. But when we got back to town, it was quite eerie, because luckily my place survived. My place of work survived. I'm on the east end of town, so it literally almost looked like nothing, like nothing happened on that end of town until you look up in the mountains. I mean, the forests were still smoldering, and they kept the fire going too. They actually did some back burning, and they kind of lit up the areas on the slopes of Old Man past Moline Canyon, and tried to just kind of let it burn itself out. So there was still fires burning up the mountainside down there. You could see it at night. It was a little unnerving. And just the smells. Coming back was a very somber experience, seeing how the damage that was done. And I honestly didn't even go see the other end of town till a couple of weeks later. I didn't want to see it, but yeah, it was pretty devastating to see that. And I still don't really go down to that end of town. There has been a lot of work done as far as any rebuilding starting. They're still digging up foundations, and of course there was a lot of toxic materials that burned, and a lot of those old houses had asbestos and arsenic and lead and all kinds of nasty stuff. We had insurance company just do some tests of the dust and stuff in our house. Luckily, I had all my windows closed and doors closed, so my apartment was pretty clean. No contamination or anything. Everyone basically got rid of their fridges, so everyone got new fridges. And of course, we couldn't open my place of work because there was still a lot of cleaning that had to be done to reopen the hotel and restaurant. A lot of all the coolers and stuff had full of meat and everything. We had to clean all that. The company came in, so we didn't even go back. I didn't go back to work till September. So it was a couple of months there, just sitting around. And you couldn't really go anywhere because there was a lot of hazards out there, and all the trails were still closed. The park was basically closed for the whole month. And I have to give it, though, the trail crew, the work that they've done, clearing a lot of the trails for next summer. They did a lot of amazing work up in there. But yeah, I mean, we all saw it coming. The writing was on the wall. The fuel was building up. The pine beetle had killed all the pine trees, and we had a lot of standing dead timber, a lot of fallen dead timber, 100 years of mismanagement. we just allowed the fuels to build up so greatly. This kind of forest is a fire succession, right? I've explained it before in other videos, but these trees are designed to burn. And as devastating as the forest looks right now, it's quite amazing, especially with the trees down, to see how open it is and all the different contours of the landscape we never even seen hidden in the forest. And I mean, everything will regrow. It's just over the next few years, you're going to see a lot of scrub and bush start growing, like, willows and fireweed, and it'll bounce back. Nature will bounce back. It's just extremely unfortunate that it did reach our town there, and we lost a lot. And it's going to be a hard summer, because we got residents right now that are displaced, and a lot of them are staying in our hotels and stuff. But of course, now we're going to have to open that up if we want tourists. But we need people to run businesses, and we have a major housing crisis. We had one before the fire. It's only now that they're finally getting in some temporary housing via ACO trailers and whatnot. I'm not going to get into the politics of everything, but when you got a national park on federal land in an Alberta, the province of Alberta, and a municipal jurisdiction, so there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape going on. But I won't get into details. But it just been taking a little longer than was hoped. But hopefully, once all that gets settled and they get all the debris cleaned up, I think once the contractors come in, the houses will start going up pretty quick. Some people have got good insurance. Some people are getting the runaround, so it's a little different for everybody on an individual case by case, I guess. Whether you lost your home or not, it was definitely a collective trauma that we've all experienced, and we're all just trying to move on and get back to normal. It's gonna be an interesting summer, to say the least, but I'm looking forward to getting back out and hiking, and at least a lot of the side valleys. The fire burnt through the valley so quickly, it didn't have time to catch and really run up the valleys, like up into the Tonquin and up into the Whirlpool and up into Geraldine and the Snaring River and all that. But again, that's more forest that needs to be managed. We got the whole Mayette Valley still, so there's still a lot of worry of another dry summer. There's not a lot of snow this winter. So once that heat wave starts in the summer, if we get one, it's going to be a little nerve-wracking, because there's still quite a bit of forest, especially the east end of town there, up in the Pyramid Bench. But they're definitely starting to do some work and a little more clearing. We need to get a lot done, and hopefully we never have to go through this again, and that we learn some lessons in other places that but have towns and forests like this are heeding the warning, and maybe they'll be a little more proactive. Banff, Canmore, places like that. It's just a part of nature, I guess, when we live in areas. I mean, if you live in a floodplain, expect a great flood every 50, 60, 100 years. You live in a forest like this, expect a big fire every 50 to 100 years. But this one was the big one. It was the big one. And from the drive up here, I could say that pretty much the worst part of it is between, I'd say, the Edith Cavell Road and the campgrounds, where all the trees have blown down, and that basically would be ground zero where it really kicked off. But it's quite a swath of forest that burnt, and we'll see what the summer brings. And then yeah, on a sad note, my cat Kitty she turned 19 in September, and then on November 5th I had to have her put down. She crossed the Rainbow Bridge. She was old, and she lived 19 years, which is a damn good life. I had her since she was a little kitten, so it's quite a bond we had. And it was a really, really, really hard day saying goodbye to her. The vet was awesome. They came to the house to have her put down, so there was no stress. She died in my arms, and yeah. But you know, it was time. She had all kinds of issues, but she had a good run. We had many good years together. But on a positive note, I just adopted another cat a couple weeks ago. Her name's Suki. She's about 4 years old. Super, super friendly cat. And I'm over the moon happy to have another companion in my life. It gets a little lonely sometimes when you live alone. So, yeah, that's basically what the last 6 months have been through. Like I said, I do have a couple of videos. I did one I went up to Sarnette Lake and Jacques Lake before the fires, and at Jacques Lake I had a really, really, really awesome grizzly bear encounter at the campground, and got some pretty awesome footage too. So looking forward to getting that one up. But stay tuned, because I'm not done yet, and there's another whole summer hiking to do. Let's just hope we don't have a repeat of last summer. Anyways, sorry for not posting anything in a while, but that's why. And life goes on. All right, hope you're all doing well, and cheers to all my Jasper peeps here and far away. Let's get back to business, and let's get back to having fun. All right, take care.